professional sports leagues, the MLS, the NFL, and the NBA, they all now have professional gaming leagues attached to their leagues as well. So we were part of the EMLS experience. We got to shoot some content with Chad, and that really started the conversation that ultimately led to him becoming like our first ambassador, not only for Cxmmunity Media, but what we're building across the HBCU Esports League and the HBCU gaming ecosystem as well.
Innovation thrives in Georgia, where tech meets gaming in incredible ways. AR, VR, and AI companies are transforming the gaming landscape.
We focus on ensuring that Georgia's industry remains the top there is. We've been around since 2005, and back when we started out, there were only 5 game studios in the entire state. Now there are almost 200.
Live from Atlanta, Georgia.
My name is Julian Fitzgerald, Executive Director of the Cxmmunity Foundation. Cxmmunity Foundation came to life really as myself and co-founders identified both a gap within our own experience of having an interest within technology and gaming and not necessarily having a clear path of getting there, and also just our immediate understanding of being able to solve for that opportunity. So the Cxmmunity Foundation incorporates digital literacy into its initiatives in a few different ways. Of course, again, we were founded around the mission of using interest of our students. Right now, the interest of the young people is gaming and esports, digital entertainment. So it's crucial for our students and users, teachers, partners to understand, not just how to game, but the technology used to both build games and also engage in that entire industry. It really starts off with identifying interest of our youth, of our students, and then from there being able to build skill sets within their field or their area of interest. And so all of that is underwritten by education itself. That's the key and the crucial part that education plays within our diverse gaming talent as well. Georgia, I envision as being a leader of gaming education and community building in a few ways. I'll start with the community building piece first. As one, again, Georgia at a state level recognized high school as an esport many years ago, and I think it was one of the first 10 states across the country, and that was key. High school students and really, I would say regional demographics, the ability to continue to build and flourish on their interest of gaming. Also a number of individual platforms, brands, or companies that focus on continuing that type of, not camaraderie, but I would say engagement and interest amongst themselves as well.
My name is Andrew Greenberg. I'm the Executive Director of the Georgia Game Developers Association. I also run the Game Tech Hub Accelerator for companies making technology for the video game industry. And I'm a director at Holistic Design. We're an indie game studio that has been around since the early 90s. The Georgia Game Developers Association represents more than 500 developers around Georgia. Most of our members are professionals working in the industry, though we also have student members and folks in associated areas, lawyers, accountants, voice actors, and those areas. So we make sure that we are the public face of the game industry to ensure that there is that steady flow of talented people who have the skills, training, and understanding what's needed to succeed in game development. So this pipeline is definitely feeding people. We've got huge interest in the K through 12 level. We see this anytime they start up a game development program. We've worked with the State Department of Education indeed to create standards for game development and for esports in the high school.
Georgia was one of the first 5 states to adopt esports as an official varsity sport in high school. The same way you can letter in football or basketball, you can letter in esports. And even though that only began in 2019, there are now 700 teams just in the state of Georgia in high school. That speaks to the growth and the appetite of students to want to play. The esports industry and Skillshot really leaned into new technology that allowed the show to go on. In fact, we worked with a bunch of partners in Atlanta when COVID hit to do an event called COVID. And COVID was a celebrity-filled event. It started the day after Gronkowski announced he was going to be returning to the NFL. And the next day, he announced he was going to be joining this dope event called COVID for charity, and he challenged Ninja, the most famous Fortnite streamer at the time, to meet him in the virtual battleground and play for charity. And we built off of that with Lil Jon challenging Waka Flocka, and the thing just grew and grew and grew. We ended up doing an all virtual event Everyone was playing from their homes. Skillshot was streaming from their homes. And we raised about $300,000 for frontline workers in Boys and Girls Club. And also 1 million meals were delivered through a partnership with DoorDash. So that's just one pretty dope event that shows the impact of gaming. But behind it was advanced technology that allowed us to actually conduct this live stream when the rest of the world was pretty much not doing anything.
I know one thing that I'm very excited about is the opportunity for even kind of in middle Georgia and southern Georgia is the opportunity to do a lot of education for those who are kind of laying down fiber. And I always like to remind people that esports and gaming does not work without internet, and this is something that we are definitely still trying to figure out in our state, in our city. There are a lot of people who do not have internet access, and I'm not even talking the high speed we need for gaming, just even basic internet. And so we're kind of heavily focused on definitely digital access, right, and digital equity. And so internet access is now a utility that's just as important as water. And so that is something that I think at the root connected to all of this is something that we all need to be thinking about, and that the city especially needs to take responsibility, and something that we're going to have to continue focusing on to make sure that we get all of our citizens access.
With the Georgia Game Developers Association, we found that many of our members are passionate about being those groundbreakers, those pioneers who can lead this state into a new level of tech innovation. Our game developers have been very passionate about both the Unreal and the Unity game engine, and have been driving and in communication with those companies to help drive the development of what have become some of the most powerful tools for not just games, but architecture, car manufacturing, every area. We understand that sitting still is not a successful strategy, be it in life or in game development. Have to be constantly improving those skills. Just how excited kids are for these programs, we see them feeding right on up. And our legislators were very forward-thinking when they implemented the Entertainment Investment Act, that they didn't only include the media of the 20th century, film, TV, and the like, but they also included what has become the dominant entertainment form of the 21st century, which is video games. Of course, worldwide, we know that video games are a $200 billion a year industry.
Lucas Bailey. I'm the Esports Program Coordinator at Georgia State University. So most of the students we have, just to give context, don't usually go on to direct careers in esports, right? They get involved with the varsity program because they enjoy gaming, they enjoy the competitive side, and they're good at playing. But for the same reason that most, varsity college athletes don't go on to play professionally, the same thing is true for most esports players. But when we do have players or students who are interested in getting and becoming a part of the esports industry, we tend to take them on not as players, but as team managers, as coaches, as people more involved in running the program and running events. So one thing that the CMII was very much founded on was the principle that while technology and technological innovation are fantastic and provide a lot of very useful learning tools and are very useful things for students to learn and know how to do, that is all contingent on access to that technology. So the primary way I would say we utilize technology is just giving it to students, right? We have a huge number of laptops, VR headsets, cameras, microphones, all kinds of digital technology and recording gear, which is freely available to students for any kind of project that they want to use to develop, because the core theory there is that if students have access to the technology that they need, if they have access to the software, if they have access to the hardware, then they will use that to make things. I greatly appreciate the opportunity that it gives me to help students nourish their own enjoyment and appreciation of gaming and esports, right?
We are embedded across the entire state in a variety of ways. If you think about the ecosystem, one of our huge tenets is exposing our existing kids who are Georgia citizens to STEM and STEAM, right? So whether that's on the engineering side, whether it's on the digital media and creative side, all of that matters. It's all integrated, it all works together. So we either invest directly in programs and partnerships, or we actually have programs that go into the school. Our lessons are around energy and energy efficiency, but at the end of the day, it's exposing students to all the different types of careers. We need every single Georgian thinking about what are the high demand careers of the future.
One bit of parting wisdom for not only our students, but largely our stakeholders. Gaming itself is just the tip of the iceberg. really digital entertainment is something that each of us should see as a value add, and through that, being able to identify ways to extract value is going to be something that really will provide both opportunity and I would say prosperity to many different communities as well.